Yeah,
Well, the door.
out the door.
Yeah, normally don't shut the door, but with all that noise.
Have you moved over?
No, not
You're
till
up.
mid-July.
Oh, okay, so you got.
Yep.
I'm like, gonna be done.
Well,
Okay, we are live. Definitely helps shut the door. Okay.
All right,
Oops.
we will call the meeting to start. Can we do a roll call? Let's start.
Jeff Howes here.
John Sempen here.
Chris Mowen here.
Will Roddy Bush here.
And Chris Tracy's unable to join us today. She had something pop up, a family item. So I will be touching base with her later this week to fill her in on our meeting. Did everyone have a chance to look at the meeting minutes from last month?
I think they're good. I glanced at them quickly.
Will found a couple of typos.
Just this minor. Under agenda item 3 line, the first line, meeting just needs another E.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And second line on item 4, second line, Laura Moore did send versus sense.
is that something
good.
we need to update before Jeff and I sign these?
Notes on the minutes directly are fine.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good.
Or you're making an honest man of me because I already signed it.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
So are we good to approve the minutes?
I'd make a motion that we approve the
I'll
May
second.
23rd meeting minutes.
Any opposed? All right. We have our election of officers for the next year. So do we want to, let's start with chairperson since it's first on the agenda.
I will nominate Chris Mowen.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or? No? Okay. I guess we vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Vice chairperson.
I'd like to nominate John Sempen.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And secretary.
I'll nominate. Oh, you want to
Go for it.
Jeff House.
I'll
He's
second.
done such a great job.
Yeah.
We can't let him go.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. That was
World's record.
Yeah. For administrative items, our next meeting is going to be August 22nd. We are skipping the July meeting due to the move across the street here.
Same
So
time, 4.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep, 4 o'clock, August 22nd. Unless there's any objections.
No.
All right. Let's move on to local designations. Any news from, is it Laura?
Laura Moore. I called again and had no response. It's becoming a habit. I will keep trying. I mean, I know that it's in process. I don't know if they're producing a plaque at this point, but it'd be nice if we could see it. And I know we wanted to perhaps use it as a model for our future plaque. So I'll keep trying.
Thank you for continuing to bug them.
Yeah.
we do still have our Wood County Courthouse and former jail on this list. We'll just, as soon as we get that design from the university, we can reach out to commissioners.
Those have been fully approved. Is that right? Are we, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't understand what you just said.
Oh,
Say
that's
that
okay.
again.
We discussed that maybe the format of the university hall sign could be similar to the one
Right.
at the,
But as far as approval, we are finished
with
pushing the Wood County and,
the courthouse and
The courthouse,
former jail.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that is on our local register.
okay, fine.
The former South Main School, Jeff had some emails with the current owner. Did you
Mhm.
want to kind of briefly update? what those
He
entail?
responded right away and said that he would be interested in finding out about possibilities for the tax. What do we call it?
Credits.
The tax
Credits.
credits.
Thank you. I
Mhm.
didn't want to say rebate, but the tax credit. And he said that he'll probably be in town early in the fall or late in the summer. And we'll get in touch.
I did, after that email, I did just send him one introducing myself and kind of, letting him know if he had specific questions about the tax credit programs that I could fill him in a little bit, but I haven't heard
You
back.
haven't
So,
heard back. Okay.
yeah, if he's around in the fall and if he can come to our meeting, or if, a couple of us could even meet him to discuss his building, that would be great.
Do we, excuse me, do we need another communication just to maybe say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're
Mhm.
in charge of
Yeah.
that. Okay, good.
Great. Yeah, I was glad to hear he had some interest in what that might entail. Our Boomtown District Strategic Plan goal. We've been focusing on what might be a North Maple district.
Mhm.
So last meeting, we, finalized what would be in the packet out to property owners. We're wrapping up the guidelines. I made some edits based on what Will and I discussed. And just yesterday, I've added a couple items I'm going to email out to everyone just to take a look, see what you think. One of them addresses the concern about the, if there's demolition due to unforeseen circumstances, what that might entail in terms of what they can build back, since that was something that came up in the forums about insurance companies' concerns. And then Chris Tracy is working on sort of a cover letter that gives our intent and purpose, and why we're putting this out there, that it's to be a helpful resource and those sorts of things. So she sent me sort of a bullet point. I'm looking for more of a formal cover letter to read next. So we're getting moving on that.
So the cover letter that we had put together earlier, is this to be amended
No, this is a cover letter to go with the
with-
guidelines.
with the guidelines? Oh,
Yes.
great.
Yeah. Just to kind of just an overview of what the guidelines are and how they'll help us and the property owners.
Good.
I do think that particularly the verbiage I put in about the demolition and might need to be reviewed by the city attorney. So after if anyone has comments, then we can incorporate those and then send those off to the city attorney. I also just recently found out about the Paul Brunn Historic Revitalization Grant Program. It is from the National Park Service. And this is to help with economic development in rural communities, and National Parks Service denotes rural communities as communities with 50,000 people or less. I think Bowling Green would qualify.
Mhm.
this program, we would be administered a grant where we could sub-grant to property owners for all sorts of things. But my particular thought was if we were interested in pursuing this grant, it could be used for preservation efforts. Should you be locally listed and you want help with, restoring your windows or your wood siding or your bricks, those sorts of things.
Missing tiles or whatever.
Yeah,
anything, yeah.
exactly. So it's one of the few programs I found that's actually kind of meant for what that might be, that we would be the holder of the grant, but then we could sub-grant it out to property owners. Like I said, I just learned about this yesterday, so I'm still digging into it, but this was just their quick kind of FAQ on the National Park Service site about it. Could be a great incentive for people who are locally listed to keep, maintenance of their historic fabric.
Would they need to be listed in order to qualify for this?
We are, we could write the grant. The way we would like to, I would propose that would be a requirement, that if, because of us being the HPC, if we're holding that as, it's just a show of good faith that you stand for the same things we stand for.
I was just thinking of the old hospital building on West Worcester.
Mm-hmm.
That would be perhaps a perfect possibility
recipient
for us and for the owner.
Yeah.
I know that it's in need of a lot of restoration. So
right, exactly.
Good idea.
So if you all want to take a look, I think if this is something we want to pursue, we could even include this in our FAQs that, as one of the benefits of joining a local district or individually listing your property. This might be something that obviously in the future, not even sure if this is something we could do this year. It's the run by the, government annual. So it will start July 1.
Says, applications are anticipated open summer 2023 and are due in the fall.
In the fall, yeah. That might be a little quick for us, but definitely something we could look for next year as to apply for.
It's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to find that might be something. It'd be great to have a way to help our property owners.
One nice thing too, it says the match is not required,
Right.
but may be considered as a competitive factor, but at least we don't have to ask the city for money to
Yeah.
to do something like this. That's good.
So if you all would take a look into this a little bit and let me know your thoughts. But I definitely think this is something we should look and, consider for all of our locally listed properties. And then we can see if we want to include it or if we need to hold off, if it's something that I can send this in an email, so you don't have to, if you lose the hard copy.
Chris, could we go back just for a moment to the Maple Street plan? I just am curious what a timetable might be, what we might be looking at for that. We're missing a meeting in July.
Right.
And I'm assuming what you're preparing is not going to be ready for a few days at least, right?
What I can send out the guidelines to everybody, so we can get that over to the city attorney. I did touch base with Chris Tracy earlier today, and she didn't have a timeline for what she was working on, but we're supposed to hopefully meet at the end of this week or not early next week because of the holiday, but next week. Hopefully we can iron that out and get that out to everyone as well. it would be great to have this all wrapped up by our August.
So once it's approved by, if it's approved by the attorney, and we all agree via email, are we ready to go, or do we have to have another official meeting to approve that proposal?
I don't know. We already voted on what would be going out to the property owners. These would just be additional,
The
supplemental information.
FAQs.
I don't think it's ever bad to have in your meeting minutes actionable things that people can look back on and have a copy attached to the minutes. But
Yeah.
that's just in my practice of my experience here. It's always good to have an official vote and then
Okay.
again, attach it to the minutes.
So if we're, these guidelines and FAQs should probably be something we discuss in a meeting as opposed to just email
I mean, you still can. I would get
Yeah.
them as final as you
as we can.
could.
Yeah.
So we should be looking at hopefully finalizing this in August.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Was the certificate of appropriateness going out in the packet also, or is that separate? The certificate of appropriateness?
I don't think so.
I don't think it has to go out. It was
Okay,
just
because
something.
I was
that
going to say, I think
looking-
there's some things that need to be looked at there at some point in time, not before the packet.
Eventually that will, and, be on our website unless it is already, because, that's what people will need to fill out when they come to us with a COA, but
To that extent, it's a useful summary of what people might be able to expect, right? So eventually, when it's ready, it will be a good thing to send with such packages, I think.
okay. That might be something we could also link in the FAQs
Mhm.
to our website.
I guess on the COA, the one part that seems like it could hinder people wanting to approve something would be the number of copies of photographs that are required. I know it says like 8 sketches. And I wonder when people see those kind of things, if they think it's like, oh my goodness, what is this? All this I've got to go through to get something approved.
Well, it's in the
Yeah,
ordinance. I
yeah.
copied the
I
ordinance.
was say that's how it's written in our ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I
Okay.
think that was written that way because that's a similar requirement for other applications. Is that right?
Commercial industrial it is, but not necessarily somebody
Okay.
building a shed or a fence. It's only one.
Okay. Yeah,
It was just
Okay.
meant to save money for the city. We always try to cover our costs
Copy.
and,
yeah, in terms of making copies.
right.
Well, that's why I didn't know if we could accept, say, digital photographs versus, it doesn't say paper. I mean, it just says 8 copies each of color photographs, 8 copies of the sketches. Demolition has 8 copies of sketches drawn to scale. And some of this, I think people see, and it's like they're thinking, oh my goodness, I have to get an architect or somebody
Mhm.
to do some of these things.
Right, and it depends on what it is they're planning to do, right? If it's a
Substantial, it would need
right.
something, yeah.
I mean, if they want to do an addition or something that would require more documentation than
Just
replacing a roof.
leave it to and see if there's concern, like if a bunch of people are concerned about things they have to do, the requirements.
Right. I'm not sure how it's not specific in our ordinance that digital can't be provided, but do we have a way to manage digital applications? Or
It's ironic you say that. We've been working on that for a while. We don't have zoning approvals that way yet, but it's in our queue to do that. It's just not that simple.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll just leave it the way it is and for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and and I think it's noted on the COA form and in our documents that, we'll encourage them to have a conversation with us before they submit and in case there's, any questions, and maybe at that point we can walk them through what we need to see. So it doesn't seem so
Yeah,
daunting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
But yeah, I think having that form so people can take a look at what it would entail to, if they needed to a COA, what that could look like, would be useful.
So should we put that on our next agenda, or
The COA
looking
application,
it over?
I think we did already, or
Oh, it was included with the materials for today, so. But it's not on
I
the
can pick it
agenda
up.
as such.
I just
Yeah.
attached to the minutes because we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
And referenced it, so.
yeah. There were some other comments, I think, during the last meeting. Well, didn't you have? a couple
Yeah, the
comments?
only thing I was looking at the front page that has, what you check, like proposed improvements, whether to look at the Secretary of Interior's categories
Oh,
to make sure. But it does cover, the roof replacement or siding, and it pretty much covers the facade
right.
and what you see.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was, it's similar type of formatting and to other zoning forms, so that, keep it consistent across. Probably helps Heather's office a lot. So do we need to vote on this application form, or?
I mean, really, it's an administrative document. I was
Yeah.
just trying to get input, how it could be improved or serve your needs when you go to review a
Yeah,
project. So I can email it out again if you want to see it. I haven't done anything with it besides try to get it in the best draft form possible.
yeah,
That's a good.
I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great. Do we have other items we want to discuss about either North Maple specifically, or our just creating districts generally?
I don't. I think
Okay.
I was just thinking the possibility of a South Main district at some point, because someone in the minutes in the Friends session talked about Maine, South Maine. And I was thinking even like with the school,
School could be
You know.
included. Yeah. And we do have mechanisms for, people in the community to list their properties individually, or if, few of the neighbors want to get together.
it's like it was Jan Knapp,
Yeah. Mhm.
or Jan said
Right.
she emphasized the need for a historic district. So I thought,
Yeah.
oh, that's good. It's
Mhm.
people are interested.
Yeah. I
yeah,
agree.
that might be one of our next
Could be
places to go. And I know we've talked about the Court Street
Court-
Square.
Yeah.
So those two, I
Yep.
think we should be looking at.
Well, I think that's a good time to pause though and also look at your strategic plan, because that is what we think we said 1 to 3 years. So reviewing that again, because again, your capacity is only so big and you're going to feel it with the next discussion about the grant. So I just want to be mindful of
Yeah.
everybody and all the work we're committed to. And we'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
we got a lot of big projects. So I think we need
Yeah.
to just be really cautious of that. And if you watch the latest NAPC webinar, it's all about, your local commissions and how much you can do as a volunteer. And, do you even have a full-time staff member or, part-time? So I just want to, I'm just not trying to discourage you. I just want to, be realistic on what we can handle moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, I know we all know this in the room, but just to remind our community that, local listings can happen, from anybody. It doesn't have to come from the commission. So if anyone has interest and wants to list their property, we're happy to look at that nomination. So.
Mhm.
I wonder if we need at our next meeting to, I can't remember when we adopted our strategic plan, if we should bring, resurface that and take a look
Good
at it
idea.
before our next
Review it.
meeting. Yeah.
Good idea.
All right. Our historic buildings of the month. We've got July is the Wood County, the old children's home.
Mhm.
And then August it was going to be Clazel. I have to, I think that was Jan that was going to be writing that. I'll reach out to her and see if she needs any help with that. And then starting in September, we were going to start highlighting some of the properties that were in our walking tour. So if anyone has anything, any specific property that, in addition, they would like to see, you can send me an email or send Heather an email and we can put it on the list. We also have the form on our website that can be filled out. But all right, our interpretive signage project. So end of last week, the Ohio State Historic Preservation Advisory Board voted on the CLG grants for the state and did approve Bowling Green's grant application for about 75% of what we'd asked. It will be official by hopefully the end of the week once we get documents to sign. But that was really great news to hear.
Yeah,
that
Very
we got
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pat yourself on the back.
yeah, all
And-
congratulations. Yeah.
Heather on the back there for writing that for us.
So that's, really great news. We're looking forward to that project. In the application, we did have a schedule that's shifted because it took longer to get the award than we were anticipating. So that is something we'll need to look at in terms of where everything aligns. But I think we need to, our first decisions will be how we get these designed and where, and where they're located. And then we kind of can let loose on a little bit on getting the historic information, but
Considering materials too.
right.
Because I was up at the farmer's market in Perrysburg Thursday and looking at theirs, they look really neat and got the streetscape with the addresses. They look like they're fading,
Mm.
and I don't know if they're printed copies over the board or what, but
Yeah.
would be looking at maybe some other cities' examples to find
Mhm.
something that really lasts a long time.
Those are pretty old. I think they're over 2 decades old.
Okay.
Because I had a hard time finding the person that I think he passed away actually
Okay.
that ran the project. So they're
Well, they're
definitely
looking
old.
historic. I mean, they're kind of brown, sepia
That's
color.
the plan.
I know when we first talked about maybe having the I think it's called the Visual Communications Department.
VCT,
Yeah. Visual
Donna Troutman. Yeah.
Communication
And
Technology.
Visual.
I'll reach back out to them, see if maybe they have any students this fall. But part of that program for them would be to design a template, and that would include what kind of material it's made of, and so they'd have to research all of that
I
to
think
see.
Laney Fugit,
Mhm.
because I think Donna Troutman may be on a sabbatical
Okay.
through the summer.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Lainey and see if they have someone. When initially we were thinking this spring, but when they found out that our application wasn't even going in until March, it was, a little too late in the semester to bring anyone on. So I'll see if they're still interested for the fall.
Is there a deadline for our using that fund? Do we-
Yes, it's 2 years.
I believe it's 2 years.
Okay.
I think we do schedule it out to maybe a year though. We didn't, we wanted to build some leeway in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think we'll have more information with the contract. I know after reading through the grant, I kept thinking, oh boy, we better make sure we do that. Better make sure we do this. So there's going to be a lot of contractual things we have to make sure we hit. there's going to be an RFQ or RFP process, and
Right.
there's definitely a lot of steps we have to take. And that's why I talked to the mayor, and he definitely wants someone from the Downtown Forward Committee to be part of this in some aspect. So that's something to consider too.
Mhm.
So we may need if that's the case, we may need a subcommittee here to move this forward.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need about 10 more people on our commission.
Yeah. So our first steps, just, so we're not, waiting 8 weeks to kind of do, or is there anything specific you think we need to be working on for our August meeting? A schedule or, what that RFP might entail?
I think we should think about that subcommittee, that it's not too big, because this really is
Yeah.
I think, a real important project, but I think you're going to need a group working on the histories and, what buildings to focus on. We have to make sure we include buildings that are on either the register or the national register, or our local register, that we have to make sure they're on the sign. Just a lot of things we have to make sure
Mhm.
we're doing. Drafting the RFP or RFQ, which I already have a couple on different levels that we could maybe adapt.
Yeah. I'll take a look at that schedule and see if hopefully it's just a simple shift everything a couple months, unless, something falls on a funky date, but.
Maybe we could consider, well, for sure, one to two of our commission on that, and then 2 to 3 community members. I know Dick Martin was coming up with a lot of really good ideas. So I don't know if we can draft him or some other volunteers.
I feel like Christina would be good. Be in a business.
Who's
Christina would be good. Being a business operator
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
downtown area.
Yeah, she's our downtown
Okay.
rep.
Yeah.
And also the person from downtown forward, would that be the idea?
Because
that-
technically Chris is on it.
Yeah, I
or-
was just gonna say, I don't
or
know if
Marcia.
I could serve as
I didn't
both,
know that. No.
liaison for both committees, but
Do you think 3 people would be enough? We need.
my only concern is if we do more than 2, then we run into, do we have to hold a public meeting because we're.
But this would be a committee
Mhm,
Ad
including
hoc.
non-commission members. So
right.
can you give us a ruling on that, Heather?
Yeah, anytime more than a majority get together, that's a meeting. So-
Of the commission.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But what about volunteers with commission members?
Commission, right,
So if we had 2 commissioners and
Mhm.
then.
Yeah.
Outsiders.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. But if
That
we,
would-
Right,
3 or more commissioners, then
exactly,
it needs to be a public.
right.
Yeah,
So we would
just-
limit it to
limit.
2.
Yeah, yeah. Not that we don't have public meetings, just that, it limits
Makes
how
it
frequently
easier.
we can meet.
Organized.
Yeah. So I'll just say, if anyone's interested in helping, let us know. Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yes, we will definitely be reaching out to our people at the library and the Wood County Museum, Genealogy Society, all great places to grab, people who have this information on hand. All right.
Well,
Is
don't
there
you?
anyone else on the commission who would like
Okay.
to be on this subcommittee?
I would like to be, but I'm envisioning kind of being the force behind the North Maple effort. So I think perhaps it should be someone else.
I think, because I'm on the downtown Florida committee, I'm happy to kind of be the go between both, if that makes sense
Mhm.
from both
Great.
from our commission and from that downtown forward committee.
I think with you and Christina, and then if
Right.
be the reps, and if there's something you need us to do, let us know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
I'd
I
be happy
think-
to do research or
sure. I think
Yeah.
we all would.
Use
Yeah.
And I think just having you as the chair, being part of that is
On the
important.
committee.
Yeah.
I'll make sure Christina's okay with, which is, with, in terms of a time commitment, make sure she can provide some time for that. Okay.
So I'm going to just suggest one more thing
Mhm.
before we leave that topic. Maybe if we could get this committee organized and have a meeting in July
Mhm.
in some undisclosed place to be determined later. What do you think? So we don't waste too much time in getting it off the ground.
Yeah, I do think time is going to be of the essence.
Yeah.
We have a lot to accomplish in 2 years. Unfortunately, I just don't want to say for certain that Tracy's going to be on without her being here. So I just want to
Sure.
make sure, and then we can work on, maybe it's even as simply as like emails, just to make sure we're all on the, community members can get involved.
Sure.
We can start work on scheduling something. But yeah, I do think it'd be great to hit the ground running in July if we can. I'm not sure if that's how many people will get right away, but maybe more people will come out of the woodwork as
Mhm.
they hear about the
Mhm.
project. So
Well, how many do you want? I mean, I would think maybe we don't want huge group.
well, I think some of that will depend on how many signs we're producing, because one sign could have a few different histories on portrayed on it, so it could be quite a lot of work. I'm just thinking, if you have one on North Main Street, it could talk about 4 or 5 different buildings. That could be 4 different people right there working on
Okay.
that history, researching that history.
That's true.
Because when you look at the Perrysburg, they've got like the cityscape, and then they have the building and address, and down below description about
Right.
that building.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if this was
Yeah.
Perrysburg or not. I think it is.
In terms of the RFP, though, that would be more for we might need one for the actual template design of the sign. And we're going to need one for the actual construction of.
Right.
And
Well, they
then-
were going to do it all, the quote I had.
Oh, they were
Yeah,
going to do both.
mhm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe we could write the RFP so they do both, and then,
Well, that's going to guide what, the real price and how many you can get done.
right,
I think it's kind of hard. We just drafted what we thought based on that quote and how many signs we could get. But I think
right.
things might change. Nothing's going down in price, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and we had 6 signs in our ask, is that right?
no, we had a lot more than that. I didn't bring the map.
Mm.
Remember, we had that draft map and
Oh, right.
we had a few on North Main, South Main, and Court Street. We had a couple, East Booster, West Booster. Yeah, we had quite a few.
Yeah. So, depending on how much those prices change in the next year,
Yeah.
we might be able to do quite a few signs. We'll have to gather a lot of information. So we can take a I think that will, in my mind, at least that would sort of be, after we establish schedule and committee, we'll be, trying to figure out, how many of these are we going to want to accomplish with this amount of money, and then how many people do we need to recruit to do it? So I will send an email to Chris Tracy, and I'll also send an email to our friends and see who's wanting to be a part of that subcommittee.
Great.
And then, like I said, when the word gets out, when we officially get our award, hopefully more people will rise to the surface as being interested. Do we have anything else we want to discuss on that signage project?
No.
Hey. Our public relations and educational programs, last month, the Wood County Museum had their Historic Barns of Ohio author meet and greet. I actually I meant to reach out to Melissa to see how that went, but I don't know if anyone was able to attend. Hopefully that went well for them. And then the Wood County Library had their walking tour in earlier this month. Was anyone able to attend that?
Is it-
No, I was
Were you-
gone.
Yeah.
I was in Maine
Yeah.
on my own walking tour.
I saw photos. Those always fill up, so they had a good turnout. It's a
Great.
fun one to attend. So for our future events, I was able to talk to Ted Long today, and our North downtown BG tour, audio tour. It will be available on Voice Map on July 4th.
Good.
So it starts down at near the courthouse. So you get a bit of Court Street and then turn down Main and get the North Main Street portion of downtown. And as soon as he has that voiced, he'll be working on the South Main Street tour. So the tour itself takes about 15 minutes. It's an app on your phone, so you can, do whenever you're downtown and want to learn a little bit about the history.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've done a few of his tours around. He's got a tour down the Maumee River, and they're pretty fun. And it's based on your GPS, so it'll prompt as soon as you're in the right area to discuss whatever
Nice.
historic event or property. So yeah, as soon as it's live, I'll send a link so you all know where to find it. We also, at the beginning of July, is the Wood County Museum's annual fundraiser. They've decided to do it this summer. They're doing a barbecue bash July 7th. They do also have their online auction available for anyone who wants to participate in that as well. You don't actually have to be at the event. You can look at items online to do that. But yeah, I plan to attend the barbecue bash and show some support. I know they've had a rough first half of the year, so trying to show extra support for them.
How are they doing in the repair?
I think they're close.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're able to open back up yet.
They're
But-
having some kind of event last week and I wasn't able to go, but our Ham Radio Club was going to be in part of it. And they had proposed, I forget how many classic cars were coming.
Yeah.
And
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was a
think it
classic
was all
car
outside.
show and then
Mhm.
car safety. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's partly why they're doing a lot of outside events right now, trying to wrap up getting their building put back together. So yeah, hopefully I'll see some people there next Friday, the 7th. I was hoping to talk to Chris Tracy about the Tell Your BG History quarterly sessions. She had some ideas and I forgot to touch base with her on when those initially we thought maybe at beginning of fourth quarter we could do a session, but that one slipped my mind in terms of updates from her. So
fourth quarter is October.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we do already have an event in October, so I'm not sure if that's how much we really want to throw on our plates. Speaking of that, the historic tax credit workshop, I wanted to get your all's opinion. I talked with Eric from, what's the name of the mansion? Jones
Mhm.
Mansion in Finley. He is interested in coming up and talking about his experience with the tax credit process. He said he could be available in November if we wanted to do it as early as November. My only concern is getting into the holiday season and people start to get busy. Do we want to hold off until after the first of the year, so we're not competing with holidays?
How no, we haven't done one of these, right?
We've not. The State Preservation Office came and gave a presentation
Right.
on the tax credit process.
How is he?
So this is the only downside to waiting till the first of the year is the state tax credit rounds. They start you have documents due at the end of February.
Okay.
So if we were to wait till first of the year, it probably wouldn't give enough time if people were really interested to submit for the state tax credits in next spring.
Now these would be tax credits primarily for business, correct?
Yes. So for the state and federal historic tax credit program, it's for any commercial building, it's basically, they call income producing. So a commercial building or a residential building that is 2 or more units.
Would what's our business communities organization? What is that called?
Our
Downtown
city.
business.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think of proposing to them a tax credit session during one of their meetings?
Yeah, I could.
I mean, that's the people that we
president that I can reach out to him.
Aren't those the people we'd like to reach out to primarily?
Yeah.
And if we could do it during a time when they already are meeting or perhaps would want to meet as a group.
A portion of that meeting, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We reached out to them. We didn't have a lot of time when SHPO wanted to come up and do their presentation, but we did reach out to them initially to see if we could coordinate. I just didn't, I don't know if it didn't align with what they were thinking, but I can reach out to them again for this.
And if they were interested, that would take some of the pressure off our organizing a special date and a place and time.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Tony or Dick and see if the SID would maybe want to partner on that.
Yeah.
I think it's Dick Newlove who's still the president of that organization, but do you all have a strong opinion about early fall, late winter, early winter or late winter session?
You said their ship was available in November was the first.
Eric from Jones Mansion, he said he could be available in November. Oh, not a specific date.
That's what I was thinking, having him be part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe try like the November meeting.
And shoot for November if
See if there's a November meeting.
if the downtown business would be interested.
We can just keep it maybe earlier, and so we're not hitting holidays. Then I think
Yeah,
we
find
should
out
be
when
okay.
they're meeting and
Yep,
if they're meeting.
great. Right. And in October 19th and 20th, we have our building doctor program. That is from our state preservation office. They'll be coming up to do a presentation and then work on some of our buildings, show us how to preserve our buildings. So
Great.
I don't think we've had any additional information from them yet. They were, they'll be working on advertising and putting up a link for people to sign up their property to be looked at on the 20th. Any property owners who want to be involved in the 20th will be required to attend the workshop on the 19th. So we'll just have to keep that in mind.
So they're doing the advertising for this, or we
They'll be
Okay.
creating the advertising and then we will help distribute.
okay.
So, yeah, they can, depending on what people, submit, if they have, tuck pointing in their basement, or if they have wood windows, they want, depends on what people are interested in, what they'll be showing us specifically, but.
Do you know if they have any information on the extent of how much work they do, like on the 20th, or sizes of projects, or wonder if
They didn't mention it.
they got a
I
website
have to
or anything?
imagine it's not,
They're
they're not gonna
It's gonna have to be
rebuild
done in hours.
right.
Yeah.
Then I can rebuild an entire window, but they might show you, how to putty glaze and rehang weights, or, something that's not going to take all day. Because I think they attend a few different buildings in one day. So enough to give you some knowledge so you can.
Says the commission in our minutes last time, I said the commission will pick from applicants for jobs or site visits. So we'll need
Right.
to figure out what kind of on that application, like what's the extent of the projects, or,
Right. Yeah. And I don't know what that application looks like. That will be from SHPO. So it'll depend on, hopefully there's enough, they provide enough questions, we can get some detail. And then once they have have the applicants put together, we'll get a copy and take a look. So I don't think SHPO is waiting on us for anything. It's just that, in terms of timeline, we're a little bit early for their schedule. So hopefully we'll get something soon
And
to look at.
So we meet in August. That should be enough time for us to 2 months before to really push this.
Yeah.
Good.
And we'll be, as soon as the, advertising goes out, hopefully the city can include that on their social media and we can really plug it.
what's the agency doing this then? Is it SHPO?
It's our, State Preservation Office. Ohio History Connection is our state preservation office.
I'm going to look at their website just to see if there's any information on it.
Yeah.
If there's like examples or.
This is one of the benefits we have by being a CLG is that our preservation office is willing to do these types of workshops. So yeah, that'll be fun. So if any of you have,
Rose is already,
Things to-
I think in the minutes there's Rose's entrance.
yeah. No,
How's it
and
done?
last meeting, Rose, you'd mentioned you
Building doctor.
building doctor. Yeah. So as soon as that link comes out, make sure you apply for your building to be a part of that. Did we have any other workshops or any other events we needed to discuss? Okay, well, I'll turn it over to lobby visitation then.
Once you, yeah, come up and
Oh,
your name. That way, well, there's people watching online.
They can hear you.
They can't hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
so my name is Don Collins. I was working with the South Main School before it closed in 2022. We had got entry to the school in 2017, be the owner. Well, we did historic tours and paranormal tours throughout the year. And we also got to work a lot with the community. A lot of our research was from the library, the public library, and from the Jerome Library at the college. We also got a lot of information from visitors to the school. They would tell us our stories when they were students, and that's where we got a lot of things you would never know about without them. So, not a lot of interesting things about the building. It's a unique building. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but there's some interesting things about the building that I've never seen anywhere.
Do you have that information written down?
Oh, yeah,
Could
we
be
got it.
shared?
Yes, we have a lot of it on the Facebook page, and I also have copies, on my computer at home as well.
Great.
Oh,
You know,
great.
the school was built in 1890, and it shut down in 2005. Then from 2005 till about 2013, it was the Common Space for the Arts.
Mhm.
Then it shut down permanently until 2017 when we got control and tried to keep it up as best as we could. So,
And
Well,
do you feel that it should be preserved?
oh yeah, it's an interesting building. It's got a lot of history, and
I think we all are hoping that somehow it can happen.
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see some things in that building you won't see anyplace else as far as the architecture and some of the features.
Great.
What is the Facebook page?
It's called Haunted South Main School.
Okay, Haunted South
We
Main
we
School.
could recall that so people know exactly what we were doing with the school at the time.
Yeah,
Pretty self-explanatory, but
right.
we tried to combine a lot of history with what we were doing.
Yeah,
That kind of tells a story and gets people interested.
right.
I can put the link in the minutes.
Great. Yeah, thank you
All
for
right.
sharing
Yeah,
that.
glad to meet you. I forgot that you said you would be visiting us. Glad to meet you, Don.
Hi,
Hi, Rose.
my name is Rose Drain. I live at 228 East Court Street. David and I just came back from 3 days in Cleveland, where we were very much enjoying activities organized by Cleveland History Days, which is in its 6th year this year. And I brought a pamphlet, a copy for each of you, and one for the keep or the published information. Because I'm thinking that perhaps during Preservation Month in May of 2024, that the HPC, along with some other, maybe Wood County Museum, Wood County Library, Local History, could perhaps sponsor something like this on a, much smaller scale. But the events that we attended were really interesting. And we went on one of Tracy had talked about the Cleveland Take a Hike project. And we went on one of those touring Ohio City yesterday evening. The tours, that tour that we attended was really well done. So I only have 2 copies of this. Um, So this was an interesting thing that was handed to us by one of the people leading the Take a Hike yesterday. And so I will give you one copy of this, but you can scan the QR code. It is called The City is Our Museum. And it's an app brought to you by the Land Studio and funded in part by PNC, which is a bank, I'm pretty sure. So anyhow, David, my husband, had the idea that Firefly Night could be interested in incorporating a Take a Hike tour as part of the Firefly Night activity. And this tour was so much fun and so well done. Maybe it would be a good way to launch the audio tour, to do it as like a group doing the audio tour. So anyhow, those are a couple of thoughts. And here's I'll give you an extra one so Chris Tracy can have one. Somebody can get that to her.
Mhm.
Okay, there's 6. The Take a Hike schedule is it's fabulous. Let's do this for Bowling Green.
Mhm.
I know Chris had brought it up with the commission early on when I started attending meetings, but then I'm not sure what happened with that, but I think it warrants further discussion.
Rose, is that a beer mat with the information on it?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good way to.
You know where you're.
The tour happened to end up at a brewery, but the man who was part of the tour had these in a baggie, so I don't think they came from that brewery. But it was really fun. There was a person in costume who was portraying a woman who owned that particular space when her husband died in 1860 something. She took over the operation of the brewery and ran it until she was 65 years old, and she was pretty young. She ran it for 35 years or so. So that was a costumed portrayal as part of the tour. So really fun. And then let's see. Yesterday morning, we took a tour of the downtown Cleveland area, which was focusing on the repurposing of the downtown buildings, which used to be office spaces above and probably retail spaces on the ground floor. And the person leading that tour is one of the founders of Cleveland History Days. He worked in, his career was in preservation in the Cleveland area. And a thing that he mentioned that I haven't heard anyone with our commission mention is conservation easements. And he said that a lot of money was raised through conservation easements, which is when a property owner agrees to put something on, I think, the deed of the building to agree that it will be kept as an historic structure. So I think that I'll look more into that. Maybe one of you already knows about that.
Yeah, in Ohio, the Heritage Ohio organization, it's a nonprofit. They manage our historic easements.
Mhm.
I think the closest one around here is the Toledo Club in downtown Toledo. But yeah, it does just that. It helps protect that historic fabric, no matter whose hands the building's in.
And that's called what?
The organization is Heritage Ohio.
Okay. Okay, as you probably know, the city council voted on June 12th to remove 2-unit dwellings as uses in the historic neighborhoods surrounding downtown. So our group fought really we're very strong advocates for that being removed, and we're grateful to anybody who wrote to council members or expressed their concern about that. I also want to mention that Anissa Miller, who couldn't be here today, she's the new owner of the old hospital, which is immediately to the west of Dunn's Funeral Home on West Worcester Street. She's asking for support in reaching out to board members of organizations that may be interested in receiving the old hospital as a donation. Of course, any organization or combination of organizations taking the old hospital as a gift would then need to put a lot of money into the restoration of the building. And Anissa is happy to give people tours of the building so that you can see what its possibilities are. Anyway, I am wondering if this commission would be able to, as a commission, reach out to organizations to urge them to consider accepting the old hospital.
I met with the director of Habitat for Humanity of Wood County since I was involved with it, and they declined. I mean, just the amount of work and the size, space, and things. So I did meet after we toured the house,
Right.
and I shared that with her.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So what do you think of the HPC supporting an organization accepting the old hospital?
I'm in favor of it, definitely. We just don't know what organizations to.
Oh, well,
approach.
Anissa has a few in mind, but I thought maybe you could help brainstorm about some others. So Anissa, I think she has contacted the Wood County Museum, and she hasn't gotten, an enthusiastic, oh, yes, we want to do this response from anybody. But so the Wood County Library, the Wood County Museum, the Wood County Park District, the City of Bowling Green Parks and Rec Department. I don't, just any organization that is interested in having a unique space for, I know, the downtown, the Arts Association, the Arts Association. I don't know. Can you think of others?
I was thinking like Wood Lane where they have the residential, but I don't know what kind of funds they would have to rehab
Right.
that for housing or.
Okay. Well, John?
I think, speaking for the council, I can't really speak for everyone, but I definitely support this effort. This grant that Chris brought in would be a good possibility. It wouldn't be a donation. And I know Anissa's taken on a big life-saving effort here with that home, and we all really appreciate that. And I think we will help as much as we can. I just don't know exactly
Right.
where to
Well,
go.
so
Yeah.
can the commission, and maybe Heather, you want to weigh in on this, can the commission contact these organizations with a letter saying, we urge you to consider accepting this building and fundraising in order to do the work necessary to preserve and make the space usable according to what you'd use it for?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's really new territory.
Yeah.
I don't see why we couldn't write a letter of support, which is kind of what you're asking.
Yes, sure, a letter of support.
And I know that she's been also, I've talked with her about the Wood County Museum, and she's not gotten a no from them. So that might be, I know that they're in financial straits a little bit with the disaster they had last year, but we might, if we're willing as a group to draft a letter of support to them and see where that goes. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah. I'm trying to understand what our letter of support, other than saying a great building, we want to see it saved. You might be a good steward for this property.
Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know a little while back I sent Anissa some ideas, but specific people I don't know who she could reach out to, but
But we can certainly
we can
start brainstorming
brainstorm,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So perhaps it would be good for that building to be the historic building of the month. Or let's see, we've got August covered and we've got July covered. So maybe for September.
We haven't chosen the fall buildings yet. It certainly could be. We were talking about properties that might be on the walking tour. I don't know if that would be, but it could be added. I would think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Regarding the History Lives Here project, I got positive feedback from people that were coming by our house and saw the sign, or sometimes I would see people taking a look at our house and I would say, oh, scan this QR code because it tells you a little bit about this house and all the other properties who are participating in this month. But I noticed it was some of the signs downtown seemed to be traveling. They were picked up and put in random places, which I imagine was something done probably after the bars closed some nights. So a suggestion maybe for next year might be to somehow, rather than just planting the sign in that little space that's dirt, where the planters are, where the trees are, might be to affix it to the building or put it in if there's a window in the building, put it in there. Because right now there's one in the parking lot of the farmer's market space.
Oh,
I do think it would be great if next year some of the downtown building owners wanted to, specifically highlight their building, and then we could put them in the storefront windows.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay.
So,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since Rose has just brought up some walking tours, I'm going to share this. This was a trip that we took to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And Hattiesburg has picked up on the Hattiesburger theme, and they have a walking tour of hamburger places. It's not so historic, but it's kind of fun. And then they have a really nice map of little places, breweries, convention center places in town. It's very simple to look at. So do we have a place we can put all these things, Heather, in your office that we might refer to them sometime down the road?
Maybe we can scan them, attach them to minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that
Maybe that's a good
helpful.
idea.
yeah.
we're trying to downsize.
Okay, I'm going to share this with our secretary.
Oh, shall I? I'll scan it.
Just file cabinet.
Sure, go ahead. Vic.
Dick Martin, 1338 Pin Oak Court. When she talked about the hospital, that was, of course, Dr. Manville's original house. Dr. Manville is going to be one of 6 or 8 people that are going to be honored at the Living History Day, which we need to get on your calendars too. It's the August 27th. It's last Sunday of August. We'll be out at the museum. and he will be one of the people that will be featured. He was a physician here in Bowling Green for many years. He was a president of the Wood County Fair Board back in when it revitalized, when it came to Bowling Green in 1881 after being in Tontogany for many years. So he's quite a guy. Of course, there's a street named after him here in town, and it'll be worth coming to hear him talk or about him. He was tragically killed in Weston or Custer. I can't remember which. Custer, I believe. Yes, he was tragically killed by a train. So that's a little history of. And if you go out to Oak Grove Cemetery, there's a big monument there for Manville.
Oh,
Thank you.
interesting.
Dick, are you on the board for the museum? Okay, thank you.
That might be a good tie for September then with his house and then mentioning
Mhm.
the,
Mhm.
that August 27th event.
Yeah.
Good.
Are you volunteering to write it, Rose, or maybe you and Anissa?
2 points of interest. Yes, Anissa and I will write it.
Great.
I was asked by Keith Guyon if I would portray Ethel Berlin for the Living History Day. So I told Keith that I will be honored to portray Ethel Berlin because I knew her. She and her husband were founding members of the Black Swamp Players, as were my mom and dad. My dad was the first president. So if you come, you'll see me too.
What time does that take place? Do you know?
2:00, I think.
Okay. Great. We'll
Okay.
try to be there.
Dale Arnold wasn't able to be here, but he gave me a little bit of information that he would have shared with us. So I'll just go through it quickly and put it in the minutes that he's been doing research on Oak Grove Cemetery and found the grave of Reverend Isaac Van Tassel, who helped start the Indian Mission on Mission Island at the end of Tontogany Creek Road. And he says something I didn't know, that there was another cemetery on South College at Worcester on the south side. And it's possible that he was moved from there to Oak Grove because he died in 1849 and Oak Grove was opened in the early 1870s. He's also been looking for Lucia Badger Van Tassel, who married the Reverend, who was one of the earliest people born in northern Wood County. And it says she died in Maumee, was buried in Perrysburg Cemetery, but he hasn't been able to find her grave yet. So I'll put those things in the minutes.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
I did have one item. I guess it might have been useful in the events section, but I received our the Heritage Ohio newsletter today in the mail. July 19th, they have a restoration housing webinar. So Isabel Thornton's going to come speak about, or, online, she'll speak about, the way that restoring housing for affordable rental properties, how that could be useful. So that might be something people would be interested in listening in.
Can you send a link?
Sure. Yeah, I'll send a link to that. Yep. And then later this month on June 28th, that's tomorrow. So I don't know if there's a strengthening your business community, the importance of regular check-ins, another webinar. So they have a few different.
Is that this or different? Okay, so this is spring.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
This
so
is summer.
Summer.
okay,
I just
so we
got
should be
it
getting that because
today.
we're members of Heritage Ohio, so we
Yeah.
get it too. And I noticed they had a project in Sylvania that they're looking to repurpose historic barn that with ProMedica in the city of Sylvania. So I thought it was interesting because it was more kind of local-ish news. But if you guys want to look at this, I don't know the best way to share it.
I didn't catch that in that spring issue.
Could we look at it right now?
I can scan it. I mean, I don't know what.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Do we have any other lobby visitation? Anyone want to?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
No, second.